Hi Sheetal, how are you?
Yeah, hi sir. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you. Can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, yeah, myself Sheetal. I have 2+ years experience in the manual testing. So
Mhm.
presently I'm working as a Royal Mail. I'm in UK.
Okay.
So yeah, coming to my roles and responsibilities. First, I will understand the requirements after understanding the requirements, according to the acceptance criteria,
Mhm.
I'm going to write the test cases. I'm going to plan the user stories. Then after, according to the acceptance criteria, I'm going to write the test cases. After writing the test cases, my test cases are reviewed by the my test lead.
Mhm.
Once if he's happy with the test cases, then I'm going to execute the test cases. So in this execution, I did integration testing, system testing, retesting, regression testing.
Mhm.
And after execution, is there any defect, then I'm going to generate the bug, and I'm going to create the bug report in
Mhm.
Jira. And after generating the bug, then again we'll send it to the developer. After he fixing the bug, then again I will do retesting and regression testing. Then after completion of the execution, I'm going to write the report of the test execution report.
Mhm. Okay, great. So let's say you have a software which is to be tested, but you don't have any requirements, you don't have any documentation. So how will you test that particular software? What will be your testing approach?
Yeah, for at this time we'll do exploratory testing.
Mhm.
So if we don't have the requirement, means documentation, first I will understand the requirements. According to the understanding of the requirements, means in this exploratory testing, at the same time we'll write the documentation, and whatever we will understand, then according to that we are going to execute the test cases.
Mhm.
So at that time we'll do the exploratory testing.
Exploratory testing. Okay.
Means whatever we understood in that requirement, that is going to execute.
Okay, great. Okay. Now consider a scenario where you have a release in 3 days and
Okay.
everything is tested, everything is working fine. Now, in the client call, in the evening, you might be having client calls. So in the client call, you came to know that one more user story is added into the release, right? And that needs to be taken care. The development will needs to happen, the testing needs to happen, everything, so that it is a part of the release, which is after 3 days. Now the development team gave their commitment, okay, it's a quick change, they'll do the changes and they will deploy into the build.
Mhm.
How, yeah, now what will you do in this scenario? Will you tell them, yes, you would be able to sign off the story with the testing and everything done and dusted with the artifacts? Or will you ask for more time? What will you do?
Yeah, first I will accept. First I will accept. Then after, according to the priority, means if that is executed the mandatory. If it is mandatory, then I will write the test cases. Means whatever is the important, means not like each and every point of the that user story. Whatever is the priority based, I will write the test cases, and I will try to complete the user stories.
Right. So that is one of the thing that the story has been planned from the client side. So you have to test it, right? Now, what would be your testing strategy? Would you be able to complete the things in 2 or 3 days as per the timeline? What will you do?
First, I will check the user, what is the user story? Is that complexity or not? According to the complexity, I'm going to tell them like, okay, I will finish that. If the complexity is more, then I will inform to them as, okay, this user story is more complexity. I need more time. Okay, if they want to release in that particular period, is that mandatory?
Mhm.
Then I will send one mail like, okay, I will try to finish, but if it is not finished, then I will try to finish in the next sprint.
Mhm. Okay. So, see, the answer for this question would be it's a business ask. You have got the decision from the stakeholders or the client team, and they feel it is necessary, so we'll have to deliver it. Now the development team gave their thumbs up. They will be able to complete the development. It will be a minor tweak for them or some query changes or some store procedure here or there. Now coming to the testing aspect. So you can take your time. You can tell them you still have 3 days, and it's not like in the very next moment, once the meeting is going to complete, you will get that story for testing. You can create your test plan. Okay, so how many acceptance criteria are there in this story? Let's say 4 are there. And if you have test data already ready with you, so you, or if it is not ready, you can create the test data. You can decide that test approach. Okay, test data is there. I'll be checking in these 3 browsers, and as everything has been completed, so 1 or 2 members can team up and they can complete the story quickly so that it can be delivered. So this is the test plan that you can make. And then on the next day, when you go for a client meeting, so you can show them the test plan. You can tell them instead of 1 resource, you will be involving 2 resources, 2 people. And this is how would be your test strategy. And you would be able to complete 90%, but still 10% is remaining. Is it okay for them? If they are okay with that, then we can go move ahead, because we have got a confirmation. We have got a kind of a conditional approval from their end, right? So that's how you can deal with this kind of scenario-based questions, right? Okay. Now coming to the next question. You are aware about agile methodology, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Let's say
In
you
my
have,
project, agile methodologies.
okay, you use agile. Okay, so can you tell me something about the points that were suggested or that were given by you as a part of feedback when you had retrospective meeting?
Yeah, when we have especially the retrospective meeting is for uh, what went well,
Hmm.
what we didn't go well.
Hmm.
Is there any improvements for the next sprint?
Hmm.
So first means what is the question? What do I need to give the any?
So let's say you have already given some of the input, some of the feedback during the retrospective. So
Okay.
yeah, and those have been incorporated in the very next sprint, right? So would you like to share those experiences on a very generic level? You don't have to go into your project details and share over here, but on a very generic level, any retrospective, any feedback, any inputs, any suggestions you would have given during your retrospective meeting, which were actually prioritized and made a part of the next sprint itself.
Mm, in this one, actually, if I am struggling anything in the previous sprint, then I will ask my business analyst to, okay, in this sprint, I am like this. I means I am struggling with this. In the next sprint, I don't want to be like, I don't want to struggle or I didn't understand about like this. So just I need this improvement. I will check with my business analyst.
So those are, it seems, you will be checking with the business analyst. Okay, so when this kind of question is asked to you in an interview, so what you can do is you can tell them that, for example, in sprint one, when you were testing, you were getting few of the very obvious bugs, which could have been taken care from the development side if they would have done unit testing, right? So those things you can highlight, that the development team might incorporate some of the obvious critical scenarios as a part of unit testing, so that when the build comes to QA, it is actually the obvious scenarios are not working, such things don't happen. Second example you can give is uh, hmm, you got a user story from client side, right? And there was an except it was kind of a UI UX story which had all kind of acceptance criteria, like this button should be here, this drop down should be here, but it didn't had any mockups, UI mockups, like what should actually happen when you navigate from this screen to this screen, the color should get changed or the option should vary. So those kind of mockups were not there. So you can request in the retrospective that you should have these mockups ahead of you, so that development team can help get an idea. Okay, this is also need to be done, and you can also write the test cases accordingly,
Mhm.
right? So
Okay.
those things you can tell in the retrospective meeting, right? Retrospective is, you were mentioning it very right, what went
Yeah.
well, what could have done, what could have been improved, right? So
Mm.
these are few of the both positive and negative aspects of the team are taken care in the retrospective meeting, right? And we generally don't think that it's me or I, but it is us. It belongs to we,
Yes.
right? So that is a retrospective.
Okay.
Okay. Now coming to the next question, you had some user story in the sprint one, right?
Mm.
And you have signed off that user story in the sprint one. When you start user story of the sprint two, right? You came to know that client has found a bug in the user story of the sprint one. So the development team will fix that particular thing, the bug in the user story one, and they will reassign to you. Now, during this course of testing, you feel that you won't be able to test user story two in the sprint which was committed by you. That cannot be completed by you. So what will you do?
Means sprint one user stories is
What
not completed.
it was completed from your end, but it
Okay.
got reopened at the client end. They found some scenario for which they have reopened it. And the dev team also has fixed that particular scenario. Now you have two user stories with you. One is of sprint one, which you already had signed off. One is of sprint two. So now you feel that that particular story which was there in the sprint one, that has also come in the testing. You have new user story also in the testing. So what will you do in this case?
Yeah, first I will find what is happening for the user story one. Means first I will find what is the root cause for the user story one. So is there any environment problem or is that any production issue? First I will check. Then after solving the user story one only,
Mhm.
then I will go to the user story two.
Mhm.
And in these two, first I will prioritize which one, which user means according to the priorities only, they will assign to the user story. So first I will finish the user story one, then after I will finish user story two.
Mhm. Correct, correct. So that was the user story which was reopened from the client side. So you will prioritize that particular user story, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is defect cascading?
Defect cascading.
Mhm.
Sorry, no idea.
Mhm. No worries. So let this be an open question for the people who are watching this video. What is defect cascading? Okay. Mhm. Okay, now let's move to the next question then. Okay. Um, how will you test an API?
Application programming interface.
Mhm.
Mm, API testing is this is the interface between the uh, database and the
Mhm.
what it's called.
Yeah, so that is fine. The basic
Yeah,
definition.
yeah, that is a definition.
Yeah.
And by
Mhm.
using get, put, post, and get, put, post, and delete commands, by using these commands, we will get the information from the database.
Mhm. Right. So what will you test? How will you verify? How will you come to the conclusion? Yes, that this particular API is working fine. This API is not working fine. So how will you validate those things in an API?
Means by using get command, if we are fetching one data from the database layer,
Mhm.
then we'll check whatever we got, is that particularly, is it working is fine, is that working is fine or not. So
Mhm.
by using that, we will test the API testing.
Okay. Do you?
Suppose for,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Please go ahead. Please. Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, suppose for example, if we are booking the tickets for the flights,
Mhm.
so first if we open the what it's called, some Air India or some other British Airways, no,
Mhm.
not this one, some South Indian Airways. So in this one, first if we are checking the in that one, if we are checking the flight tickets for the British Airways, so Once if we are checking for the British Airways, it will send the data to the British Airways, some third party. Then it will get the information from the British Airways to the in our website. So is it fetching proper or not? Like this, we'll test the API testing.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So will you use any tools to test API?
Yeah, Postman tool.
Postman tool. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between local and global variable in the Postman?
Local and global variables.
Mm.
Local variables means we can use for the particular means I don't have any idea about the API, but I know the idea about the in Java what are the local and global
Okay,
variables.
okay, no worries. So see, Postman is actually an API testing tool,
Yeah.
right? Local is the smallest variable scope. So with respect to the color collection, you can use local variable. Global variables are the ones that can function outside of the collection, right? So those
Okay.
are, yeah, those are features available in Postman itself, right? You would have created an environment, you would have used an API over there, right? So those are the uh, terminologies related to the Postman. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
how will you test an API, right? So when it comes to this question, so when you test an API, you will see the status code of the API, right? Whether you are receiving it properly. So let's say if the API is working fine, you will receive the response, the status code as 200, or you might receive
Yeah.
201.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you have to tell, you can verify the status code. First thing
Yes.
is that. Second thing is, um, if you hit an API with invalid inputs, so then validation message should come in the response itself, right?
Okay.
For
Yeah.
example, there is a field which is accepting only 6 characters. You tried entering 7 characters, so that becomes invalid scenario. It's negative testing. So the message should come in the response itself
Yeah.
that this field contains only this, accepts only this limit of characters. Please try again.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing you can test with an API.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
200, around 200 is the success one, and 401 is the, yeah, it's a bad request.
Right. So response text is there, status code is there, those you can test, right? Then
Yeah.
you can also use the variables and you can test whether the when you hit the API and you have some integration scenarios. So for example, you have a scenario in which the value is getting changed when the input is entered from screen A to screen B. So you can use some variables in the Postman and you can see, okay, the variable value is getting modified or not, right?
Okay.
You can also use assertions in the Postman, contains, right? Those kind of assertions are there, text-based assertion and status code assertion. So those kind of assertions are already there. So you just have to
Mhm.
use them in the Postman, right? So API
Yes.
testing is very important, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
especially in these days, people should have the nominal good
Knowledge.
knowledge in Postman, right? Because
Okay.
Postman is a good tool that is used. Then it comes to
Mhm.
performance testing. So again, JMeter is the popular tool.
Yeah.
But as per your experience, you should have knowledge for Postman. What can be done by Postman? What cannot be done? What are the limitations? So those kind of aspects you can know.
Okay.
Okay, now what is the difference between authorization and authentication?
In API testing,
No, no, it's not about API testing. It is generic. What is
authorization,
authentication and what is authorization? Yeah.
no idea.
Okay. 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 So, see, authentication, authorization, these things come under security testing, right? Let's say
Yeah.
you have a particular screen in the application. For example, it's an investment banking domain-based application, right? There will be some screens which are accessible to the admin. There will be some screens which are accessible to vendors. There will be
Mhm.
limited screens which are accessible to consumers, right?
Mm.
Some
Okay.
people are authorized to access that particular screen. Some people might not be. So those kind of test scenarios we will test. And if those are not working, so those will be the critical defect because those are vulnerability issues. Those are breaking the security of the application, right?
Mhm.
This is authorizations. Authentication means when you have a proper set of credentials and you are able to log in into the application. So that is a happy path. But when you don't have access or when you don't have valid credentials, but so you should not be able to authenticate, right? So those kind of errors should come. So that is authentication, authorization, right? These things are generally checked in the applications.
Security.
Right? Authorization systems exist in many forms of environments. Let's say I gave you an example of banking domain, right? So people will come up with the kind of matrix, role-based access control, that if you have this particular role, you should be able to access this particular screens. If you have this particular role, you should be able to access only these two screens, like that. Permutation and combination-based matrix will be created, right? So
Okay.
that is security-based testing. And these are common things, authentication, authorization. You don't need some tool, but you just have to be good in the functional testing.
Okay.
Okay, what is test closure report?
Test closure report.
Mhm,
First means in this test closure report means after execution of the all test cases, the next will check is there any defects or not. Once if we are happy with that particular test cases, once if we are happy with all test cases, then we'll close the user story.
mhm,
Then we'll generate one report. That report is the test closure report.
mhm. Right. So test closure report is nothing but it's a kind of a documentation that you will provide to the client, in which you will put all the test results that this particular user stories have
Yes,
been
okay.
tested across this, but you will also attach the test scenarios if they put, right? So it's a kind of a memo that the testing team has to prepare to officially sign off, to officially finish the testing process, right? It's a formal document, right? So you will consolidate all the test results. You will provide detailed analysis of whichever bugs you had found. If any bugs, you have kept them open. So the plan of that particular defects, right? If any risk factor you have in the sign off of the application, will showcase all the metrics to the customer, right? How many bugs you had found, how many test cases you have written. So all those artifacts will be a part of your test closure report. So it is nothing but a official documentation. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Sheetal, I am done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir. First of all, thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Yeah.
And how did
Yeah.
you come across this channel?
No, actually, nowadays I'm preparing for the next role.
Hmm,
So just I'm looking, but according to these videos, really I'm learning from the real-time scenario answers.
right, right.
Really, it's very helpful for us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's mostly you are telling about the whatever we are working means it's like real time scenarios
Hmm,
means whatever we are working in the real time same like that of questions you are asking
hmm, hmm,
and we can learn from the whatever we are doing means like types of testings and
hmm,
what we will do in all types of API testing and
hmm,
agile
hmm.
and in all process.
Right, correct.
Still, I didn't go to the automation until manual. Yeah, it's very
Hmm.
perfect for us.
No worries. If you are able to take care of the manual testing, then half of
Yeah.
the job is done there only. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
right. What other content you feel should be added into this channel?
Means sometimes if you are showing the any videos
Hmm,
means like what we how we are doing means like API testing
hmm,
what how we are doing if you are arranging like that videos also maybe it will be most helpful for us.
hmm, hmm. Okay.
Means by listening to this if we are looking also what you are doing means we can understand clearly.
Mhm. Okay, okay, sure, sure. So you want real-time videos on
Yeah.
Automation, API testing, Java.
Automation or yes. And in the manual also means how we are doing the regression testing or retesting. Yeah, sometimes you are asking about the, suppose if you are giving one page and how you are going to do test. So
Hmm.
by looking at that, we are understanding what we are doing properly, manually. So
Right.
like that, if automation is also there, means we can get it easily.
Correct, correct. No, no, definitely we'll try to add them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your feedback,
Thank you.
Sheetal, and wish you all the
Thank
best for your career.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.